Hello, and welcome to this webinar on Minerva Analytics' recently published briefing on the 2026 UK Stewardship Code. The new version of the code came into effect at the start of this month after being formally unveiled in June 2025. This discussion will examine some of the key changes to the code and their implications, which were highlighted in the full briefing, which is available on the Minerva website. I'm Grogan-Fenn, newsletter editor at Minerva Analytics. I'm joined by Cameron Elsdon, Stewardship Analyst at Minerva and lead author of the briefing.
Thank you, Jack. It's great to have the opportunity to discuss the latest developments in the UK Stewardship Code. The new code presents significant changes, and I'm looking forward to sharing insights from our research.
Thanks, Cameron. So to start, can you give us a little bit of background information about the 2026 UK Stewardship Code?
Of course, the 2026 UK Stewardship Code is the fourth and latest iteration of the UK's voluntary framework for responsible investment and stewardship, representing a major update from the 2020 Code. The UK Stewardship Code has long been seen as a model for regulators around the world and is an internationally recognised voluntary stewardship standard with global signatories. Overseen by the Financial Reporting Council, the code establishes principles and reporting requirements for asset owners, asset managers, and service providers.
This new version of the code was subject to a long consultation process. How did feedback from stakeholders influence changes to this new edition?
After extensive consultations between the FRC and stakeholders throughout 2024 and 2025, the 2026 Code was developed to clarify the purpose of stewardship and address the main issues identified during this process. Many participants felt that the previous definition lacked clarity, particularly regarding the balance between financial outcomes and broader environmental and social objectives. Stakeholders also pointed out that during earlier reporting requirements were excessively complex and burdensome, often leading to a box-ticking mentality rather than fostering genuine engagement. In response, the FRC aimed to simplify the reporting process, strengthen the focus on delivering long-term value for clients and beneficiaries, and ensure the code remains practical and internationally relevant.
The changed definition of stewardship in the 2026 Code received plenty of attention. How does the revised definition differ from the 2020 Code, and what are the implications for ESG accountability and fiduciary duty?
The new definition centres stewardship on creating long-term sustainable value for clients and beneficiaries. It removes explicit references to environmental and social benefits. This change is intended to align stewardship more closely to fiduciary duties. However, some stakeholders worry it could weaken ESG accountability, making environmental and social considerations seem optional. Following engagement, the FRC clarified that stewardship should still consider long-term risks and opportunities related to the economy, environment, and society, but the language used is less prescriptive than it was under the 2020 Code. This shift has sparked debate, especially among pension funds and responsible investment advocates, about whether stewardship should address only financial interests or also systemic risks like climate change.
Another major change to the code is the new two-part reporting system. What are the key features of this new system, and how might it affect reporting burdens, transparency, and the quality of stewardship-related disclosures?
The 2026 Code introduced a two-part reporting system: the policy and context disclosure, which would contain foundational information such as an organisational structure and governance arrangements that are reported on up to every 4 years unless there's a material change. In addition to this, there's an annual activities and outcome report, which contains information on how an organisation's stewardship policies were put into practice during the reporting year. This new system aims to reduce duplication and reporting burdens, allowing organisations to tailor submissions to their actual activities. While many support a reduced frequency for reporting on context, some stakeholders have noticed worries that less frequent updates could weaken accountability and transparency, especially if market conditions and ESG priorities shift. There are also concerns about fragmentation and the potential for inconsistent disclosures across signatories.
And how have the principles for asset managers, asset owners, and service providers been streamlined in this new version of the code?
For all service providers, disclosure requirements have been streamlined. The code includes 4 policy and context disclosures and 4 activities and outcomes principles. Unlike previous codes, there are 3 principles tailored to specific roles: proxy advisors, investment consultants, and engagement service providers. For the initial 2026 code submission, Minerva is expected to report on the 4 policy and context disclosures and principles 1 and 2 in its activities and outcome report. After the policy and context is submitted, only principles 1 and 2 need to be reported annually until the next policy and context disclosure is required for submission after 4 years. Similar streamlining applies to asset owners and managers, with the former 12 principles that made up the 2020 code have been replaced with 5 policy and context disclosures reported every 4 years and 6 activities and outcomes principles reported annually.
Can you provide us with an example or 2 of these streamlining efforts?
A key change of the 2026 code combines the previous 2020 principles of engagement, collaboration, escalation into a single comprehensive principle 3. Additionally, the 2026 code allows for differentiated expectations based on whether assets are managed directly or externally. For example, a small pension fund may be exempt from reporting on principles 3 and 4 if they are handled externally, and instead focus on the oversight of managers under Principle 5. The FRC emphasised that organisations should report on the principles that most accurately represent their stewardship approach and activities.
What has the reaction been to these changes from stakeholders and wider industry?
Critics argue that streamlining may dilute requirements and potentially weaken accountability and stewardship effectiveness. This coincides with the broader context of US antitrust pressures and collaborative and ESG initiatives influencing global stewardship norms. While the new code doesn't eliminate escalation and collaboration, it does reduce its prominence. Stakeholders have also raised concerns that oversimplification could lead to a narrower interpretation and less robust reporting.
Last year, there were renewed discussions around an EU-wide stewardship code. How might the emergence of such code impact the UK's position as a global benchmark for stewardship? And what are the potential risks and opportunities of an EU-wide code?
An EU-wide stewardship code, as proposed by the European Securities and Market Authority and the Institutional Investors Group on Climate Change, could drive harmonisation and stronger climate ESG integration, but may also increase reporting burdens and complexities for its global asset managers. There is a risk that the UK could lose its benchmark status if the EU code is seen more comprehensive, especially on ESG, or if a divergence emerges, forcing managers to comply with multiple codes. Opportunities exist for the UK to strengthen ESG provisions, pursue interoperability, and lead to practical implementation and reporting innovation. But collaboration with EU regulators would be critical to avoid unnecessary divergence and maintain global credibility.
Looking forward, what are the biggest challenges that signatories are likely to face in adapting to the 2026 Stewardship Code, and what best practices or resources can help them navigate this transition?
Increased flexibility and less prescriptive guidance may challenge organisations new to stewardship or lacking internal expertise, potentially leading to inconsistent or less detailed disclosures. The 2026 transition year allows signatories to adapt without immediate FRC assessment, while new applicants will undergo full assessment with additional support.
Minerva has been a long-time signatory of the code, and we intend to be so during 2026. How can Minerva help our clients adhere to the changes introduced by the 2026 code?
Minerva Analytics helps both new and existing signatories adapt to the 2026 Stewardship Code by providing tailored reporting solutions for the updated policy, context disclosure, and the activities and outcomes report, making compliance simpler and more transparent. Our Stewardship Code gap analysis maps clients' disclosures against FRC principles highlighting compliance gaps and offering insight to enhance reporting.
Thank you, Cameron, for taking us through some of the key points of Minerva's 2026 UK Stewardship Code briefing today.
Thank you. I hope this session has helped clarify the main changes and their potential implications.
Minerva Analytics can support stakeholders in adapting to the new UK Stewardship Code. We offer Stewardship Code gap analysis, as mentioned by Cameron, and other services which can help you navigate these changes. Reach out to us at hello@minerva.info to find out more. For those of you who haven't already, make sure to fill out our Horizon Scanning survey, which is open for responses until the end of this month. Your input will directly inform our research and guidance around emerging stewardship challenges in 2026. In the next few weeks, we'll publish a briefing reviewing Australia's 2025 proxy season. We will also be issuing briefings on diversity, equity and inclusion and artificial intelligence in the coming months. These briefings are made available to clients early. Reach out to us for more information on these briefings and the other advantages that being a Minerva client can offer. Thank you for joining us today.